Hello and welcome to the next part of this tutorial in which we are going to look at our development environment, and we're going to see which environment we are going to use to learn the SQL for Oracle databases. And like I mentioned in my previous video, that SQL, once you learn for one database with minimum changes, you can apply those skill across other databases as well. So keep in mind that the upcoming courses for other databases will be easy for you if you understand SQL for Oracle. By saying it, let's start. So our dev environment, a bit introduction, we are using virtual machine on Oracle VirtualBox, like I mentioned in the lab tutorial video that we're gonna use Oracle VirtualBox software, and I have already shown you in that video how you can use it. In a separate video, I'll show you the whole process from the scratch, where you can download literally the Oracle VirtualBox software. You can install the operating system, guest operating system on it, and then you can install even the Oracle 12c on it for setting up your own environment. So if you want to learn that experience, just tune it for a moment. I'll release it soon. The next one is virtual machine is available publicly, and the download link is provided in this video as well as in the lab session video as well. You can download it. I have uploaded in one of my OneDrive folder, and it has enough space, so you can easily download it. And the link has been given in the description as well. That's something which is really great with Oracle. Like, they provide a default schema with the pre-populated data that you can use to run your queries, and that's really a practical way to learn SQL. Like, you are not going to learn theory. We're gonna build all these queries on the fly, so we can see the power and the features of SQL. And obviously, in the advanced level of this course, we're going to create our own schemas as well as the security. Like, we're going to create our users, and we're going to create the privileges, roles, which going to control the access of those users who are non-DBS. And then we're going to even control the access at the object level. All right, all the practice scripts I'm gonna load on GitHub. I've already set up the repo for this course, and then you can download if you want to run by yourself all those database scripts by yourself. And I'm gonna put the GitHub link in the description, so anyone can download those scripts. Okay. So a quick introduction about the SQL building blocks, because now we are entering really in the practical side of this course. So we're gonna see how many building blocks that form the SQL language. The very first is, and the most famous, and I would say mostly used in the industry, is the data selection language. And sometimes we underestimate it, but I tell you by experience that sometimes we have a problem even in the selection, where the output we need to generate from the table, that requires hours and hours worth of writing, the select statements to get the data, to transform it in a way that we need. And in the practical interview, especially at the senior levels, you're gonna see a lot of practical questions from these interviewers who are interviewing you, and they will give you the output which doesn't make any sense by looking at the input. And once you start working on it, the SQL help you to start transforming the input in a shape that is closer to the output. And obviously applying it again and again, you finally reach to the output that is required by the end user or customer. Anyway, all these things gonna come into the upcoming video, but let's kick in with the basics. The next one is obviously data manipulation language, and it covers all the insertion, merge, delete, upserts, inserts, all these statements which are part of the SQL. They sit under data manipulation, and anything that touch the data and change it, or that you can see it's more like the data manipulation language. The third one, which is obviously a bit advanced, where you define the structure or the model, or where you architect. So in order to create the physical architect or physical object, you need the data definition language that create, for example, tables, views, stored procedure, function, triggers, on and on. So all these objects, the commands you use in SQL, they are coming under the data definition language category. So keep in mind that with any database, if you know SQL, if you understand the SQL language of that database, you don't need any interface. You can literally do everything by writing this SQL. And now with all these cloud-based technologies, they are also providing their advanced version of SQL that literally combine even the infrastructure, or I would say additional functionality within the SQL. So the SQL syntax has been enhanced, and they include, like, for example, if you want to grab the data from a file location, so instead of separating it out from the SQL, they merge it within the SQL. So we're gonna see in the later videos all these things. And the last but not the least is the data control language. This is more like, where you are controlling the functionality of the software, and it's more like the system related or admin related stuff. We are not gonna cover this in detail in this course. That's not the administration course, like I mentioned in the start. We are more like looking from the analytical perspective, and analytics has a very least to do with the administration, until unless you have the skill that definitely gonna give you advantage once the queries are running slow and you want to see what's happening under the surface. Then definitely DCL will help you. All right, data selection language. So the biggest and the only command for the data selection is select, which will help you to get the data. And once I say only, it is the main, I would say, command in the SQL language that it's used to get the data from the structure. And then it has different variant, like you can create with clause, but at the end it's actually the select command, which extract the data from the table and return you as a result set. I'm not gonna read that theoretical statement. I think the explanation is enough, and the example we're gonna see in the next slide will explain it in the much clearer manner. All right, so that's the syntax of the select statement. After select, we have two options. We can provide the column names, or we can provide the star, which means that the query will return you everything. So if, for example, the table has 100 or 200 columns, this query is going to run, and regardless of the column, it's going to return all the data. Just be cautious in running select star, because sometimes I've seen that it literally put a lot of stress on the server, and because the database is shared by many users. So if someone is running unoptimized query, or I would say badly written query, that's not gonna be helpful for the peers who are running the queries at the same time. Sometime especially with the SQL server, I have seen that the server was completely congested because someone run a really big table select star from, even though he just need maybe I would say 100 or 200 rows with maybe 4 or 5 columns, but he's, because of the lack of knowledge, is still running the select star. So just a note to keep in your mind. And then we have from always, after from we mention the table name. I'm not going to keep things complicated. Like, I'm not going to discuss, you can put the subqueries in here or in the column area. Everything will come on its place. Right now we are simply discussing a very basic SQL statement. In the where clause, you're gonna put the condition and the logical operators. What are the conditions? What are the logical operators? Everything is gonna come in the later videos, so you can easily understand. But where clause is actually help to filter out the results. So, for example, if in our table we have millions of rows, we are not gonna require million of rows every time. So obviously, if we need a very small part of it, we need to apply a filter, so that can take out the unnecessary data out of our result set. Order by is the last clause for the basic select statement. Keep in mind, I'm saying basic select statement, right? Selection is gonna be main part of this course, because selection is, I would say, covered 90% of the data analytics side, and you will see how much we work with selection while we are doing the data analytics, right? So just that's why I'm moving slowly. We're gonna start with very simple, and we're gonna really go advanced, where we're gonna use the nested queries, where we're gonna use the correlation, and we're gonna use a lot and lot, especially in Oracle. Oracle is very enriched in terms of the SQL language. So if you looking from the advanced perspective, just hold on. And if you are a noise or at the very basic level, just follow along, and you will start from basic all the way to the advanced or expert level. Coming back to the last clause, order by clause will sort the result based on the column name. So for example, if you have a column and you want to sort your result by that column, order by is going to help you. These are all the practical things. I'm not teaching the academic literature, because these practical things will help you to present the data to back to the business, so they can use it, and that is part of the analyst day-to-day role, that he needs to make sure that he's getting the data in a right shape, in the qualified manner for the users. Okay, now enough theoretical discussion. Now we will see our first query. The very simple select statement, like I mentioned, it only requires the select and from clause. So select is providing the information what you need to get from the table, and then from mention, okay, which table you are going to get that information. So if I put it in here, you can see we have select star from employees, and if you remember, star is referring all the columns, so regardless of the columns, it's gonna bring everything in front of you. And sometime it really slow down the query, because it is getting, imagine if you have 100 million rows in your table and you are running a select statement, that's not a very efficient query. So just keep in mind again. And then you can see I have already ran in the dev environment. Anyway, we're gonna see in the demo, so that you can see it's bringing all the columns. So that, I would say, a very simple select query. Now we are gonna see bit smart select query, which is going to be smart than the previous one. And in that query, we're going to filter out the column, because we don't need all columns. So imagine if we just need employer ID, first name and last name. So we don't need to provide star. So you can see the star has been replaced with column names. And there's the output. Next, we're going to see a bit more smarter query. where we can see that we are applying the filter. So first we narrow down the columns, that we don't need all the column, but this time we are also narrowing down the rows. We are filtering the rows. So for example, if we only are interested in seeing the employees who are from the department 90 or department code 90, so we're gonna run a query which will apply this filter on the result set. And if I put the query in here, very simple, select filter column names, selected column names from employees from the table where department ID is equal to 90, and that's the condition. If you remember, when we are looking at the syntax, we mentioned condition, logical operator, condition, right? But at this time we are only looking a very simple, I would say, filter which we are applying, and with only one condition. And we called it more smart Slack query. Obviously, it is not smart, it's more smart. So now we are going to see a very smart query, which is going to not only select these particular columns and applying the filter, but that will also sort the result. So how the very smart Slack query looks like, there you go. Employee ID, first name, last name from employees, where department ID, and you can guess is equal to 90. That's our condition. Order by, and because we want to sort by first name. So what it's gonna do, it's gonna actually sort the results in the ascending order. And then I would leave a trick with you, that if you want to reverse the order, I'll leave it as a question for you, but I'll show you in the demo that how you can do it. All right, so now it's time for demo. We're gonna do the demo. And let me switch to the environment. So if you are not familiar with this environment, I've already put a tutorial that you can use to go through and understand how I have built that environment. So that environment will help you to work within the Oracle environment, and you can run all the queries. So you can see that already I have that simple query, select star from employees. That was the first query. And let me show it to you that once we press Control Enter, there's another way you can hit that big green button, and it will execute the results and bring the result in the tabular format. All right. I'm not sure whether I mentioned before, there's another way to see the same output, but in a textual format, which is pressing the F5 from your keyboard. And if I press F5, you can see the output looks a bit ugly, but that is coming on the console. So these outputs are more like, if you are not a kind of person who likes the graphical user interface, and you prefer to use the terminal or PowerShell or command line interface, so that's the shortcut key, or I would say the way you're gonna see the results of your query on the command line. So that's our first query. Now let's move on. I'm going to run the second one, and I believe I already built the queries. Yeah. So I'm going to, and by the way, this file is available on Git, so you can, if you don't want to write, you can just download and copy. And I'm gonna keep all the scripts in future in the Git repo as well, so you can copy from there. So let's go and paste it. And by the way, there's a tip if you want to comment a line. There, the command is double hyphen. Normally the process is you write the query and press Control Enter. And then you can see, like we mentioned, and we have seen in the slides, the result that now instead of returning all the columns, we are only seeing 3 columns. Pretty straightforward. Now let me comment it and grab the third one, which is more smart query, like we mentioned in the slides. So now you can see beside the filters on the column, I'm also putting a filter on the row. And just want to show, I know I didn't actually do it. So let's put the department in the previous query. So you can see the department information, because that will help you to understand the next query better. If I run this query, you can see it is showing me all the department IDs regardless, and it has fetched 100 rows in it's saying 0.01. I believe the total rows are 107. So that's the SQL developer internal, I would say, algorithm that specify how many rows it needs to get at the start of the display of the results. And then as soon as you scroll, it will show you more results, right? But separate topic we're gonna see once we look the SQL developers in detail. Coming back now, we are not happy to see all other departments but 90. So what I did, I put the where clause, and in some syntax, even if you actually select this query and you run it, that should be all right. But if you look at the small squiggly underline characters, it's gonna actually ask you to put this semicolon, because that's helped the compiler to understand that the query is completing at this point. And now nothing will be changed. You can see that now only people who are working in the department ID 90, they are appearing on the screen, right? So pretty good up to here. So now we have one last query, which is very smart. And I'm gonna copy that query from, let me run it. Again, I select the query and I press Control Enter, or I can hit in here. And then you're gonna see we have now, it's showing me the same result, but if you look closely now, the results are sorted by the first name, because the previously by default, I believe once the SQL developer returns the result, it will sort by the first column, which was in that case the employee ID, but we ask him to sort it by the first name. That means the small letters, the name start with the small letters, they're gonna appear first, and then it goes towards the big letters, right? So which is a normally ascending sorting order definition. Now in the demo, I ask you, or in the slides, I ask you to find out how you can sort in the descending order. So the solution is pretty simple. All you need to just add one keyword called desk, which is more like mentioning the descending order. It's a keyword that tells the query engine to reverse the order of the column values, right? So in that case, now we're gonna see S gonna come first, and then N, so Steven, Nina, and Lex. So nothing different. So that's all about the demo. I believe you understand how you can run the query and how the selection process works. Just keep in mind, I reiterate that is a very, very basic queries to start understanding how the selection process works in the SQL. But as soon as we move on, we're gonna see how we produce some really complex result sets using the complexity of the selection of SQL language. Right. In this video, we're gonna stop here. I believe you like the video, and if you like it, please like the video on YouTube and subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you very much.